Good morning. Welcome back to Maritime Law. Today we shall begin with the exclusive economic zone. Certainly, the exclusive economic zone (EEZ) is a maritime zone established by the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea (UNCLOS). It grants coastal states sovereign rights over the exploration and the use of marine resources within a specific area adjacent to their territorial sea. The economic zone, or the exclusive economic zone, having an acronym as EEZ, is a maritime zone established by the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, having an acronym called UNCLOS, it grants the coastal states sovereign rights over the exploration and use of marine resources within a specific area adjacent to their territorial sea. Adjacent to their territorial sea. And that will make us, or that will lead us to the key aspects of the exclusive economic zone. That will lead us to the key aspects of the exclusive economic zone, known as the EEZ. We have the definition, sovereign rights, limits, delimitation, rights of other states, the environmental protection, scientific research, the archipelagic states, multiple use concepts, we have the international cooperation, legal disputes. These are some of the key aspects, elements, or components of the exclusive economic zone, known as the EEZ. And then explain them one after the other. The exclusive economic zone under definition. It is a maritime zone that extends up to 200 nautical miles from the baseline of a coastal state. Within this zone, the coastal state has special rights for the purpose of exploring and exploiting. For the purpose of exploring and exploiting the resources available beneath the sea. We also conserve and manage natural resources available. The coastal state has special rights for the purpose of exploring and exploiting the available resources beneath the sea, conserving and managing the natural resources within the confines of its territory. The sovereign rights talks about the coastal state enjoying some of the rights within the stipulated timeline in the EEZ for the purpose of exploring and exploiting natural resources. The coastal states enjoy sovereign rights, privileges, and other benefits in the EEZ for the purpose of exploring and exploiting natural resources, both living, such as fish, and non-living, such as oil and gas. This is an extension of the sovereign rights of the coastal states beyond its territorial sea. The coastal states enjoy sovereign rights in the exclusive economic zone for the purpose of exploring and exploiting natural resources. And this includes or is inclusive of both living and non-living. Living such as fish, crabs, and non-living such as oil and gas. And by extension, the sovereign rights of the coastal state goes beyond its territorial sea. By limit, under the exclusive economic zone, is measured from the baseline. It's measured from the baseline of the coastal state and extends up to 200 nautical miles. In cases where the coastal states are opposite or adjacent to each other, the limits may be adjusted through agreement. The outer limit of the exclusive economic zone is measured from the baseline of the coastal state and extends up to 200 nautical miles. In cases where the coastal states are directly opposite or adjacent to each other, the limits may be adjusted through agreement. And then we move on to delimitation. Limits have just been explained. We move on to the delimitation as one of the key aspects of the exclusive economic zone, EEZ. This can be a source of negotiation and at times dispute between neighboring coastal states. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, was right principles for equitable delimitation, taking into consideration or account relevant contingencies, circumstances, situations, and the need to achieve an equitable solution. And the need to achieve an equitable solution. Rights of other states. While the coastal state has exclusive rights to exploit resources within its EEZ, while the coastal state has the sole right, freedom, opportunity, access to exploit resources, to make use of the resources available within its EEZ, other states enjoy certain rights, including the right of innocent passage for ships, and the freedom of navigation and overflight. Other states enjoy certain rights, including the right of innocent passage for ships and may wish to pass through the exact route, and the freedom of navigation and overflight. These rights are subject to the rights of the coastal state and compliance with its laws, conventions, and regulations. These rights are subject to the rights of the coastal state and compliance with its stipulated laws, rules, and regulations. The environmental protection. Coastal states are obliged to take certain measures to avoid or prevent, reduce, and control pollution in the EEZ. They are mandated, they are poised to take every measure to avert, reduce, curtail, prevent, and control pollution in the EEZ. They also have a duty to conserve living resources to ensure that the living resources on the sea are not harmed, and protect the marine environment as well in this zone. They are obligated to carry out absolute measures, preventive measures to reduce, to curtail, to avert, to put an end to stop, and control any pollution whatsoever that may erupt in the process in the EEZ. As such, we have a duty to conserve the living resources and protect the marine environment in this zone. Scientific research. Scientific research is next. The coastal states have the exclusive right to authorize and regulate scientific research be useful to them. In the EEZ is the exclusive economic zone. You have the exclusive right to initiate, to ratify, to approve, to authorize, and regulate scientific research conducted in the EEZ. Other states may conduct marine scientific research as well in the EEZ, but they are required to obtain the consent of the coastal state. They are required to obtain the consent, the permission of the coastal state to perform these exact functions. The archipelagic states, which consist of groups of islands and their surrounding water. The archipelagic states, which consist of groups of islands and their surrounding waters, they decide to claim the entire archipelagic water as their EEZ. They wish or decide to claim, to take possession or dominance of the entire archipelagic waters as their EEZ. However, the breadth of such EEZ, the exclusive economic zone, is still subject to the 200 nautical mile limit. The breadth of such EEZ is still subject to the 200 nautical mile limit. The multiple use concept talked about the definition, the sovereign rights, the limits, the limitations, rights of other states, environmental protection, scientific research, the logic states. Then we move on to multiple use concept. The EEZ concept is based on the idea of multiple use, open to everyone. Coastal states are encouraged to use the resources. Coastal states are encouraged to use the resources of the EEZ for various purposes, including fisheries, oil and gas, fisheries, oil and gas exploration, and tourism, while ensuring the sustainable management of these resources. Concept again is based on the idea of multiple use, more than two, or one. The coastal states are encouraged to use the resources of the EEZ for various purposes, including fisheries, oil and gas exploration, and tourism. And by doing so, we should ensure the sustainable management of these resources. We have international cooperation. The United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, encourages international cooperation in the management and conservation of living resources, in the management and conservation of living resources in the EEZ, the Exclusive Economic Zone. The coastal states are expected to cooperate with each other and with relevant international organizations to ensure the optimal utilization of resources. It encourages international cooperation, international support in the management and conservation of living resources in the EEZ. The coastal states are then expected to cooperate with each other and with relevant international organizations to ensure full utilization, to ensure the optimal use of resources. In a legal dispute, disputes related to the EEZ, especially on the sea, including issues of delimitation and the exercise of rights, including issues of delimitation and the exercise of rights, may be subject to resolution through negotiation, arbitration, or other peaceful means, as outlined in the UNCLOS. Should any dispute crop up or arise, during the process of navigation in the sea and the like, they are all subject to resolution. Resolutions such as negotiation between both parties involved and arbitration through the court as court judgment or other peaceful means is dialogue as contained, as documented or outlined in the UNCLOS. Establishment of the EEZ, the establishment of the Exclusive Economic Zone, represents a significant development in the law of the sea, providing a framework for the sustainable and equitable use of marine resources beyond the territorial sea. represents a significant, a huge development in the law of the sea, and this provides a framework for the sustainable and equitable utilization of marine resources beyond the territorial sea. The UNCLOS, as the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, adopted in 1982, as the widely accepted as a comprehensive legal regime governing the EEZ and other maritime zones. UNCLOS adopted in 1982. Why? Because the widely and acceptable comprehensive legal regime governing the EEZ and other maritime zones. The continental shelf. Certainly, the continental shelf is another important maritime zone defined by the UNCLOS. It is another important maritime zone as defined by the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. And then we will talk about the key aspects of the continental shelf. Key aspects of the continental shelf. We have rights of other states. We have international cooperation. We have the overlap with the EEZ, outside limits, submission to the Commission on the limits of the continental shelf. As the CLCS. We also have the delimitation, the legal framework, we have the sovereign rights, the continental margin, the extent, as well as definition. Let us quickly highlight some of the key elements, components, or aspects of the continental shelf. We have the definition, the extent, continental margin, sovereign right, the legal framework, the limitation, the submission, the commission on the limit of the continental shelf. That's the international cooperation. That's the rights of other states. Not to overlap with AEG, as well as outer limits. These are the key aspects of the continental shelf. We begin with the definition. Continental shelf is a natural prolongation of the land territory of the coastal state. Is the prolongation, the extension of the land territory of the coastal state, extending from its territory, extending from its land territory to the outer edge of the continental margin, or to a distance of 200 nautical miles from the baseline, whichever is greater. The natural prolongation, the natural extension of the land territory, the coverage of the land by its jurisdiction of the coastal state, extending from its land territory to the outer edge of the continental margin, or the distance of 200 nautical miles from the baseline, whichever is greater. The extent. The extent of the continental shelf may vary, but is generally measured up to a distance 200 nautical miles from the baseline of the coastal state. Generally measured up to a distance of 200 nautical miles from the baseline to the coastal state. However, if the continental margin extends beyond this limit. The coastal states can claim an extended continental shelf beyond 200 nautical miles. If the continental margin of distance extends beyond the definite limit as outlined, the coastal states can then claim an extended continental shelf beyond 200 nautical miles. Continental margin. As the third point, and we talked about definition, talked about the extent. Now move on to the continental margin. Continental margin consists of the submerged prolongation of the coastal state landmass, including the continental shelf, the slope, and the rise. Consists of the submerged prolongation of the coastal state landmass, including the continental shelf, the slope, and the rise. Coastal states have sovereign rights over the resources of the continental shelf. The coastal states have sovereign rights over the resources of the continental shelf. They have the sovereign rights. The coastal states have sovereign rights for the purpose of exploring and exploiting the natural resources, exploring and exploiting the natural resources of the continental shelf. Both the living, such as the fish in the ocean, and the non-living, which may include oil and gas. This includes the resources such as oil, gas, minerals, and sedentary species. Includes resources such as oil, gas, minerals, sedentary species of marine life. The legal framework for the continental shelf is primarily provided by UNCLOS, contains the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. UNCLOS. The legal framework for the continental shelf is primarily provided by UNCLOS. Therefore, outline specifies or describes the rights and responsibilities of coastal states. It outlines the rights and responsibilities, duties, of coastal states and establishes principles for determining the outer limits of the continental shelf. It explains the duties, the rights, the responsibilities of coastal states and establishes principles for determining or ascertaining the outer limits of the continental shelf. The next point here is the delimitation. Delimitation. The limitation of the continental shelf whether that of the adjacent or opposite or coastal states is subject to negotiation and agreement. The delimitation of the continental shelf, whether adjacent or opposite coastal states, subject to negotiation and agreement. The UNCLOS provides principles for equitable delimitation. The UNCLOS says the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea provides principles for equitable delimitation based on the principle of an equitable solution, taking into account relevant circumstances. Taking into account or consideration relevant circumstances. Next is the submission to the Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf. The acronym here is CLCS. The coastal states are required to make submission to the Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf, CLCS. This is to enable it to establish the outer limits of their continental shelf beyond 200 nautical miles. As such, the CLCS reviews and makes recommendations on these submissions. There are submissions made by the coastal states to the Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf, CLCS. This is to enable it to establish the outer limits. This is to enable it to establish the outer limits of their continental shelf beyond 200 nautical miles. As such, the CLCS then review and make appropriate recommendations on these submissions. We call it a day here. We shall continue on our next meeting.